Getting yourself to draw every day feels like a chore, but ever since I made a drawing habit, it feels rewarding. In the past, I always struggled with applying myself. It's exciting to get better, but the work can be draining. I really envy the artists that can draw every day and make it look so effortless. They just practice constantly doing fan art and personal work of their own. I wanted to tap into that energy and passion, and I'm happy to report I found the tools to do it. I studied computer science in college, and it wasn't until I was about to graduate where I realized I had an elective in the arts and I had to take an art class. That's where I discovered an untapped passion in drawing. I didn't know it was something that you could get better at the time. I thought it was something you were born with, like being able to run fast or being able to sing. Sure, you can train those a little bit to an extent, but with drawing and painting, you can actually become a master, provided you train enough. And therein lies the problem for most artists, the training. The passion is there, but there's so much involved in developing your skills. There's a huge mental battle to overcome to just get started with the drawing, and that's before you even get to what's required from you physically. What most of you end up doing, which is what I did myself, is you rely on small bursts of motivation. You take a class or listen to a podcast or watch a video, and you get really inspired to go and create. Sometimes it lasts a day or a week or a couple months, but eventually you burn out. Actually, sometimes if I went to a class or listened to my favorite artists talk, that motivation wouldn't even last long enough for me to get home and practice. Again, I was interested, but I was relying on motivation, and so I was just constantly burnt out and not able to apply myself. You might be surprised to hear this, but what most people call burnout like this is actually just an inability to deal with the mental toll of being an artist. And in this case, that means learning a new skill. I went through this process for roughly 10 years. I had some of the best teachers, went to some of the greatest schools. It just didn't happen for me. From the outside, it looks like it should have been impossible for me to fail. I literally had everything laid out for me to succeed, and I still couldn't find a way to apply myself properly. Most people at this point jump in and either call you lazy or tell you you don't want it enough, and that is just some of the most unhelpful and negative advice that you could get. What changed for me and spoke to that part of my brain that was always fighting against me trying to apply myself was James Clear. If you haven't heard of him before, he's the author of a remarkable book called Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits will teach you how to make the small changes that will transform your habits and deliver remarkable results. That's what it says on the homepage of his website. It was those tiny changes driven by his words and knowledge that let me develop a daily drawing habit. I finally had a system where I could draw when I wanted to draw, no motivation required. The hardest part of following James Clear's system is starting small. And not the actual physical part, it's the mental part again. I know you want to be amazing at art and study like a crazy person until you get good. Try to do it in less time than anybody has ever done it. But you know the reality. You won't draw. You'll tell yourself you will, and then you'll go and relax, play a video game, watch TV. Then all of a sudden it's time for bed, you'll say you do it tomorrow, and the process just repeats. I'm gonna show you how I broke that cycle. 15 minutes. That's how long I committed to drawing when I started this. You're choosing a sweet spot where it's as long as it can be without your brain trying to nudge you towards a different behavior. Even though you want to draw, your brain is trying to actively have you avoid it. Your brain likes to preserve energies, so it likes habits, whether they're good or bad. If you introduce something new, like drawing, it's gonna fight you on it because it's hard work and your brain is not used to it. It will try its hardest to make you avoid that activity like the plague. It'll tell you that you won't do well, that you're not going to enjoy it, that you'll never amount to anything, that you don't even like it, that there's a new show on, that there's a new game for you to play. It's going to tell you everything you fear and enjoy wrapped up into one small little package just to get you to avoid exerting any energy whatsoever, even though it's something that you really want to do. When you start small, you quiet these excuses. Your brain doesn't throw up all these defenses because it doesn't think that it takes a lot of energy to do what you're asking it to do, and you can finally commit to drawing. Strangely, choosing the time wasn't the hardest part for me. It was accepting that I had to start small if I wanted to get somewhere. In the back of my mind, I knew that I was not going to put in 4 hours of drawing even though I wanted to, and I had to start small, but I just couldn't accept it. I wanted to still do the longer hours, even though I knew I still wouldn't draw. When I finally gave myself permission to start at that 15 minutes, to start small, it changed my world. In July, I was drawing for 15 minutes. In August, I was drawing for 30 minutes. And now in December, I've been consistently drawing for an hour, and I'm ready to increase my time again. At first, the goal was simply to show up for myself. I wasn't actively trying to really learn anything or apply any exercises. I was just showing up and drawing, proving to myself that I could do it. And in August, I actually decided I needed to track my progress to understand how well I was doing. One idea that always sticks with me from James Clear is that your habits only require a majority, not perfection. Life is unpredictable. You're gonna have days where things happen, your car breaks down, you have more work than you expected, you have to babysit your little brother. Something may happen where you don't have the time to sit down and draw like you would like to. And that's okay. If you can show up for yourself in a small way, even if it's not the length that you intended, that's great, but it's still not necessary. You can miss days, just try not to miss too many. Again, think majority, not perfection. My habit tracker showed me that I was missing more days than I thought, but I was still being a lot more consistent than before. It gave me the strength to jump back into it when I missed a few days because of life. Even an extended break where I had my wedding and was on my honeymoon for about 2 weeks, I didn't draw, but I was able to jump right back into it because I had that habit already starting to develop. The other idea that lets you maintain that habit even when it's not quite solidified yet is the concept of identity systems. If you go into this process believing that you're an aspiring artist, that you're trying to be one, you're gonna treat yourself as one. You're gonna try to study, but you're gonna go play something else instead. You're gonna try to study, but you're gonna go watch TV instead. You need to believe that you're a professional artist from day one. You are an artist. It's a mindset shift that has a lot of weight to it. Instead of trying to become an artist, you already respect yourself and your time in the manner of a professional artist. Again, you need a majority, not perfection. Even professional artists miss days here and there, but they can still show up for themselves and draw when they need to. On October 3rd, I changed my drawing habit from 30 minutes to 1 hour. And I had decided earlier that at 1 hour, I was gonna move from simply showing up for myself to actually moving forward with training and doing exercises. Drawing and painting exercises come with their own set of challenges. You actually have to start thinking to yourself, how do I get better? My experience and research up to this point has shown me that studying from reference will only take you so far. I want to draw my own characters and worlds, and I imagine you do too. And that means relying less on reference and drawing more from imagination. If you want to draw from your imagination, you have to practice drawing from your imagination. It's that simple. Drawing from memory also improves your ability to learn and actively recall that information, so it's a win-win. Now I was finally in a position where I was thriving, showing up for myself, and actively looking for ways to improve. I'm growing as an artist, and I can see the improvement and confidence that comes with being consistent. If you're watching this, you're probably having trouble drawing daily like I was. And to be clear, I actually take 1 day off. I sometimes draw my sketchbook before I go to bed, but I usually still only draw 6 days out of the 7 days a week. I don't think you need to draw every day to be successful. So let's quickly break down how you can create a starting point for you to create a daily drawing habit for yourself. Number 1 is to adopt the identity of being an artist. Tell yourself you're an artist from day one. You're not aspiring to be one. You are a professional. You don't try to draw, you draw. Ask yourself what qualities identify with being a professional artist. They're consistent, they're always learning, they know failure is a part of growth. These are the qualities you need to adopt to believe in your ability to be an artist. Number 2 is to find the maximum amount of time that you can work with the minimum amount of retaliation from your own mind. If you try to do too much at once, your brain will come up with some excuse to divert your attention. Some of those diversions can be pretty devastating. Reduce the time until your brain says, I can do that. Number 3 is give yourself permission to start small. This was honestly the hardest part for me, and it might be for you too. I had to accept that it was going to take time to get to a point where I was drawing for as long as I really wanted to. And the longer I took to accept that I had to start small, the longer it would delay that success that was waiting for me in the future. The moment I accepted that I had to start small was the day that my life changed for the better. Number 4, show up for yourself. Now it's time to take action and do it consistently. Remember the idea of majority, not perfection. If you're showing up most of the time for yourself, great, keep going. If you're struggling to show up, reduce the time. And number 5 is simply to keep improving. Once you feel comfortable at that starting time, whatever it may be, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, even 1 minute, and I mean really comfortable to the point where you actually want to stay seated and draw some more, then increase the time. How much is up to you? I went from 15 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour, about to go to an hour and a half. But if you can only increase the time by 5 minutes or 1 minute, that's up to you. If you try to challenge yourself and it's not working out, step back a little bit. No one is forcing you to make monumental changes except for yourself. Just try to improve 1% every single day. Whether that means being consistent for another day or increasing your time, try to just improve at a pace that you are comfortable with. At the time of writing this, I'm about to increase my time, my artwork has improved, and I have an incredibly healthy relationship with my art, which is something I have never had with my creative process before. I draw almost every day and it feels mostly effortless. I still have bad days like everyone else, but my mind doesn't fight back in the same way that it did before. Drawing and painting is not something I shy away from because I am comfortable doing it now. Actually, the opposite happens now, where if I don't draw, I start to feel a little restless, like I need to do it. And I can't tell you how powerful that is to feel as an artist, especially as one who's had so much trouble being consistent with their practice. If you want to experience this for yourself, you can definitely do it. You just have to give yourself permission to start small and see where it takes you. In reality, all it takes is the smallest commitment to change your life. You can do it today. Draw for 1 minute every day for a week and see where it takes you. That's our episode for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or you're struggling to make this drawing habit happen for you, leave them in the comments below, and have a happy and healthy creative process.